Let's do some really, really low effort content, aka reacts. Get out of the way. Jesus Christ. What a day. What a day. So horrible.
Have you ever felt like games today just don't hit the same? Like they're missing that spark or emotional pull that older games used to have? I've been thinking about this a lot. Why was
Yes. It's yes, 100%. 100%. All the way. But the thing with that is one of the actually the major point in that is most games these days, well, most games, all the most of the big games are live service games. So of course they don't feel the same because back in the day you had way less multiplayer games and way more single player games comparatively. That's one major point here, like massive. And then, of course, the writing back then was way better than today, because the writing stuff today, at least in the West, they are all you can't take them seriously. I mean, just look at them and their opinions. They're so stupid. It's incredible.
I so hooked on games in the 90s and early 2000s, playing them over and
Played
over
that game,
again?
I
And
think.
why does that feeling
Not
seem so rare now?
not this.
At first, I thought maybe I'd just grown out
I still love Half-Life 2. I played through the game 12 times. About 12 times. At minimum 12 times.
of it, that it was nostalgia talking. But is that really the whole story? So I decided to put this theory to the test. I went back and re-downloaded some of the games that basically raised me. Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, Deus Ex
Need for Speed, Hot Pursuit. I literally had the game on PlayStation 1, and then I got it again for the PC. I bought the game twice. That's how good it was. But that's how good it was for me. I loved it.
1, GTA Vice City, Quake 3 Arena, Half-Life.
Quake 3 Arena, oh my god. I still remember the 16 FPS that I got with my Voodoo 1 card. It was so stupid.
Basically the greatest hits of my childhood and early teenage years. And you know what? I still loved them, and not just because I'd played them before. It was because of how they were designed.
Look how nice this game looks.
They didn't care if you were ready. They didn't hand you a map and say, here's exactly how to win. They trusted you to figure it out. They challenged me, and in a weird way, didn't care about my feelings. Turns out, it wasn't just that I got older. Games really did change. And today, I want to dig into what exactly changed, why it happened, and what it means for the games we play now.
Part 1. The evolution of game design. Oh god, yeah.
In the 2000s, games were designed with one thing in mind, making you work for it. They didn't care if you felt coddled or safe. They expected you to figure it out. And honestly, that was part of the fun. They didn't just throw hints at you like you were a lost puppy. They trusted you to explore, fail, and get back up again. Take Half-Life 2, for example. There was no constant stream of cutscenes or blinking arrows telling you where to go.
There was nothing. There was nothing. But also, you had to go into the straight line to get through the game. You had to. There was no, oh, you can't go this way or this way. I mean, there were secrets, but there weren't, oh, go here and get this collectible for your achievements. That didn't exist. Now, there were achievements, surely, but nothing like that. It was more like, kill an enemy with a but throwing a heater at them and things like that. Those things. But not, oh, go here and collect this, which that takes you out of the game if it's, as realistic as Half-Life 2. I mean, Half-Life 2 is just a realistic game fighting against an oppressive force. Having collectibles in that would take you completely out of the game. Now in Doom, that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
You had to pay attention to piece together the story through the world itself, like a detective in a sci-fi fever dream. Or look at Deus Ex, which casually dropped codes in random conversations and notes scattered around, and expected you to actually write them down somewhere. It forced you to slow down, to really pay attention, and to own every little triumph. This kind of design didn't just make you feel like a passenger, it made you an active part of the world. The moment you remembered a keypad code and punched it in, it felt like you'd unlocked a secret meant only for you. It was these little victories, earned by your curiosity and stubbornness, that made games back then feel so alive. In arcade games like Need for Speed, winning actually meant something. If you wanted to progress, you had to learn the tracks and the mechanics. There were no
Which was awesome. Yeah, sure. I liked it.
participation trophies waiting for you at the finish line. If you didn't nail it, you didn't move on, simple as that. In contrast, a lot of modern games seem to hand out points and rewards like they're afraid you'll get bored and wander off. It doesn't matter if you finish first or last, they'll still give you a pat on the back and some XP. Difficulty often scales itself down, so you never really feel that moment of panic.
Which is horrible. Which is horrible. I hate things like that. Now, if I want to lower the difficulty because I just suck and I can't get through it, sure. I mean, there's nothing speaking against that. But the developers making a game that it does that automatically, that's horrible. That's basically saying, oh yeah, you're too stupid. Here, let us do it for you.
When you're about to lose. Those older games didn't care about how you felt. They weren't interested in propping you up or giving you a false sense of accomplishment. They cared about making you sweat a little, about making the win actually feel like a win. They knew you were smart enough to handle it and that there's no feeling quite like figuring it out for yourself. These days,
Which is 100% true. 100%. If you figure something out for your own without being told, that feels amazing. That's I felt that way when I played World of Warcraft: The Burning Crusade Classic. I played, of course, a Draenei Shaman and Elementalist, and I didn't go for more spell damage. I went for crit chance. It was insane. I was the #1 damage dealer in my guild. So good. I remember in Karazhan, the Prince. In that fight, I did 25% of the damage to the boss. 25%. That's massive. That's a lot, like a lot. And but the thing is, in short fights, I was trash, like utter trash. I wasn't doing anything because I didn't have enough time to crit. But in longer times, fights that take longer than 1 minute, I was snowballing. Just because of the crit chance. It was insane. And on top of that, the 33% chance to fire a copy of the spell that I just casted, which also can crit. Does half the damage, but also can crit. So in 10 seconds, I could throw out up to 6 spells. And I'm only talking about the lightning spells. 6 lightning spells that all crit, which happened, and I died immediately because I got auto aggro. No tank was able to hold that, at least not warriors, which was fun. It was really fun. I was on the floor so often. It was fun.
the focus is often on accessibility and convenience. Don't get me wrong, it's great that more people can pick up a controller and enjoy a game. But somewhere along the way, that convenience started to chip away at the real fun, the thrill of facing a challenge and coming out on top. Instead of learning and overcoming, you're just being gently guided along, never too challenged, never too lost. Sure, there are still games that remember what made those older titles so good, but we'll get to those in a bit.
The impact of corporate greed. Yep, 100%. Ubisoft and EA and Activision. 100%. The usual suspects. They're the ones that immediately come to mind.
As the gaming industry evolved, corporate interests started to treat games less like art and more like cash registers that just so happened to involve dragons or race cars. One prominent example.
The problem is not that the companies want to make money. That's not the problem at all. The companies back in the day also wanted to make money because they are companies. But they made actually good products to make the money. Today, these products, I mean, Call of Duty, every year a new game, they are just reskins. It's nothing more than just reskins. You change the textures, and a lot of times not even that. You give it a new theme. You make a campaign, which basically, I wouldn't be surprised if the levels itself are a lot of times the exact same of previous games. uh, have the exact same layout, but they just change textures, put different buildings and stuff like that. Which, to be fair, I don't mind as long as the game is really good. But then again, uh, it it's always the same thing. It's always the same thing, which also is why I don't play Call of Duty, because it's always the same thing. Uh, each Call of Duty is valid for 1 year. You pay $120 per year about that with DLC and season pass, blah blah blah, and it's valid for 1 year. Then the entire player base moves on to the next game. Why would I buy into that? Why? I wanna play a different game that doesn't do that. That's out for 5 years, still gets updates, and still has a decent player base. I pay for that, I don't know, $40. And maybe that sometimes DLC comes out, I pay for that $15 every once a year, every 2 years. That's way less money. And I can play the game for longer. And I don't have to grind to unlock everything that's in the game because, oh my god, I want this. This is so cool. In the next game, it doesn't matter anymore. And that's literally the next year, the next game. It's just trash. And oh, don't get me started with Ubisoft's The Division. Why is the Division 2 its own game? Why is that not an expansion to The Division 1? They split the player base that way, which is completely retarded. Completely. Just just make it an add-on, a more expensive DLC. Make it $40. You have the player base of the first one, and you get more players with the new one because it's a different scenario, but fundamentally it's the same. And you can expand the end game, and everything is fine. But they didn't do that, and they're actually working on a third one, which probably will never come out. I don't think so.
Example is the widespread adoption of Battle Pass systems. It started out in games like Dota 2, then Fortnite gave it steroids, and now you can't swing a pixelated sword without running into one. These things have turned into a standard feature across genres, with the main goal of making sure you never stop playing. They're cleverly disguised as content, but what they really offer is a list of chores with a timer on them. This model doesn't care if you're having fun, it just wants you to keep checking in, like a clingy app that tracks how many steps you've taken to the fridge. The game itself becomes a background detail to the daily grind. Log in, complete your tasks, buy the shiny thing before the timer runs out. The actual mechanics, the stories, those are more like afterthoughts, something to keep you busy while the real business is happening in the store tab.
Yes and yes. The thing is, if it's a multiplayer game, they have to make money. Now they could make money by hosting servers for players by getting paid for that. They could do that, but that's way less money. Uh, and yeah, I think that's the problem. If you could, take just some random multiplayer game that's free to play. If they wouldn't have, battle pass and cosmetics, and would make money with, um, renting out servers to players, so that players have their own servers. That's way less money than cosmetics and battle pass. It's it's very simple. But you could do that. And I know some games do that or did in the past. And also with not being that much money, you also wouldn't have that many developers on a game after release, which is then also, the game getting boring or something like that, or stale. Yeah, it's all things that have to be considered.
To make sure you don't get too frustrated and stop spending, modern games have gotten really good at smoothing out every bump in the road. Dynamic difficulty adjustment sounds nice enough, but it also means the game never really asks much of you. There's no spike of panic, no triumph of beating the odds, just a smooth ride to somewhere you're not even sure you want to go. It all feels empty, lifeless, and we wonder why we are constantly buying new games, and then all the experts have the Pikachu face when a game like Expedition 33 drops. All the statistics yell at you, oh, turn-based RPGs don't sell. It's not about the genre.
Yeah, it's not it's not necessarily about the genre. I mean, RTS games are dead. When have you heard about anyone? Oh, this RTS game is so amazing. It sold 20 million times. No, and I don't think it will happen. But yeah, this game. When I saw the game first, I thought like, yeah, no, never gonna play that. Looks like a typical Ubisoft game. But looks like I was wrong. I haven't played it, but it looks like I was wrong. But for example, I wouldn't buy another Ubisoft game because they are all the same. All Assassin's Creed games, they are all the same. The Division's all the same. And it's the Division and Assassin's Creed, they are fundamentally the same game. You do the same things. And I don't mean, oh, you have guns in Assassin's Creed. No, I mean, everything that's not the main gameplay loop is all the same. And even when it comes to the gameplay loop, they just change the tools you use to do the same things. The watchtowers, collecting stuff, side missions, and things like that. It's all the same. It's all the same. Always.
Why and where did we forget to ask the question, is the game bloody fun when developing? When companies care more about engagement metrics and conversion rates than about fun and challenge, you're left with experiences that are technically perfect but somehow empty. If we really want to bring back the magic that older games had, the industry has to remember that challenge and storytelling are the real hooks, not just...
And that's why I play indie games, because they still do that. And successfully. Very successfully.
how many coins you can earn in your daily login. Beyond just monetization and accessibility, there's also the simple fact that big game companies tend to play it safe. They're in the business of minimizing risk, which often means churning out sequels, remakes, and formulaic gameplay that's been tested and retested to death. Originality takes a backseat because it's a gamble, and no one in a boardroom wants to roll those dice. This isn't to say that comfort and familiarity are always bad, but when every big budget game starts to feel like a copy of a copy, you start to wonder if we've lost something in the shuffle. It's like the industry is so focused on not offending anyone or not confusing them that they forget how exciting it is to be surprised or even challenged. Older games took more risks because there was more room to experiment. Today, that same spirit is often buried under market research and shareholder expectations. And sure, there are exceptions.
Graphically, this looks really nice, but I would never play that. Because I have not seen anything that interests me about this game. Neither the first one nor the second one.
Some big titles that still manage to innovate, but for the most part, the AAA world is about as risk-averse as it gets. That's why so many of us find ourselves drifting back to smaller indie games or those older titles that didn't seem to care if they were too weird or too hard. Because when you're not worried about playing it safe, you're free to actually make something interesting.
Yeah. The role of indie game studios. Oh. That's gonna be interesting.
Not all modern games fall into these traps, though. Indie developers are usually the ones out there waving the flag for creativity and player engagement over just lining their pockets. Games like Hollow Knight, Celeste, and Dead Cells don't rely on your credit card to keep you entertained. Instead, they challenge you, make you sweat a little, and remind you how good it feels to really earn something in a game. They're proof that you can still make engaging, memorable experiences without building a virtual slot machine into every menu. Indie games thrive on innovation, often born from pushing boundaries and challenging established conventions. Traditional tutorials or hand-holding techniques can increase accessibility, but can inadvertently stifle creativity by funneling players through a very specific experience. This means players aren't given space to experiment and find their own ways, leading to a more
That actually isn't that important as long as the experience is really good. When the experience is really good and people don't notice that they don't have a choice, that's art. That's an art to do that. And I don't think that any AAA studio has that competence, like, at all. Especially not Blizzard. But are Blizzard even considered AAA anymore? Maybe because they put so much money and into games and have so much stuff, but that's it. The quality of their games is, you can forget it.
formulaic feel instead of encouraging creative problem solving. These prioritize immediate gratification over the long-term benefits of player-driven exploration. Moreover, indie developers have been busy breathing new life into the immersive sim genre, the one that used to be the playground of big-budget games like Deus Ex, Prey, and Dishonored. These kinds of games put real choices back in your hands, in worlds that actually let you be creative, whether you're hacking doors are open, sweet-talking your way past guards, or just throwing a wrench at the problem and seeing what happens. Recent releases like Shadows of Doubt, a detective game in a procedurally generated dystopian city, and Control Alt Ego, where you solve puzzles by possessing
So I guess New York or London or Berlin.
everything in sight, are proof that there's still a lot of fun to be had when you let players off the leash. Then there's Journey, an indie game that redefined multiplayer by giving you a sense of connection with complete strangers instead of turning every interaction into a competition. You wander through vast deserts, silently forming bonds with whoever happens to be there, and somehow it feels more meaningful than your average multiplayer game these days.
Well, yeah, but that's not hard. The average multiplayer game these days is just whatever. A quick in and out. Just like with your mother.
Indie games also don't shy away from tackling serious themes. Celeste, for instance, manages to combine tough-as-nails platforming with a story about mental health and self-doubt that's as heartfelt as it is challenging. It even added an assist mode that set a new bar for making games accessible without watering them down. Through all this, indie developers keep pushing back against the idea that games have to be built around monetization or cheap tricks to keep you playing. They're a reminder that games can still be fresh, personal, and deeply satisfying, even if they don't come with a battle pass.
And the thing is, the old games weren't afraid of you stopping playing them. If you finish a game, you finish a game. You're done. You maybe come back. I mean, like I said, I played Half-Life 2 12 times. And I mean, 12 times I finished the game. I will do it again. And yes, that's a threat.
It's entirely
Finding a
possible to
balance.
take all the fancy tech we have now and still hold on to what made older games truly captivating: mystery, atmosphere, and the freedom to figure things out on your own. That's what made so many of those games stick with us, and it's something that's often missing in
I like the art style. Looks fine. Looks neat.
modern titles. Take Elden Ring, for example. It's proof that players don't always need a glowing arrow pointing them forward. The world is massive, the challenges are real, but most importantly, it's full of moments where you're not quite sure what's waiting around the next corner. It's a game that lets you breathe in the atmosphere and soak up the feeling of being somewhere new and unexplored. This is a far cry from the approach a lot of modern games take, where the experience is meticulously mapped out and explained before you even get your feet wet. Too many games want to make sure you're never lost or confused, but that also means you never get that electric jolt of discovering something on your own.
Which is very, very true. And it's very, very sad.
The quest logs, the objective markers, the endless pop-ups, they're all there to keep you on track, but they also take away any sense of surprise. Older games understood that the world itself could be the fun. The satisfaction didn't come from ticking boxes on a map. It came from mastering a tricky platforming section, figuring out how to make the clunky combat system work, or just messing around and seeing what the game would let you do. These games trusted you to find your own fun and gave you the tools to make it happen. Modern games could learn a lot from that. They could focus on making the mechanics themselves satisfying, giving players the freedom to try out weird strategies, and trusting them to handle it when things go sideways. Because the truth is, it's the messy, unpredictable moments that we remember the most. Not the perfectly guided tours with scripted victories, but the times we stumbled into something amazing because we were allowed to wander a little. If we can bring that back, we can keep the incredible tech we have today and still make games that feel as alive and memorable as the ones we grew up with.
I remember that even in World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft Classic and TBC, I loved playing that. Leveling was the most fun back then, I think. I hate leveling in retail WoW now. It's so trash. Like, it's absolute trash. Like, if you aren't max level and do dungeons and raids and stuff like that, the game is complete trash. Like, completely trash. Absolute garbage. But back then, in the olden days, I loved leveling in vanilla and TBC. I loved it. Even if I not all the time knew where I needed to go, it was fun. Just exploring was fun. But in retail, there's nothing to explore. It's all the same. All the same. And it's boring. Like, really boring.
In the end, what I really miss about older games is the feeling of being alone but not lonely, the quiet thrill of figuring things out, the excitement of finally beating a tough level, because I actually improved, not because the game wanted me to feel good. Modern games, with all their hand-holding and constant rewards, seem to have lost that spark. It feels like I'm being coddled rather than challenged. I miss the times when games didn't care about my feelings, but still managed to make me care deeply about them. I hope that by remembering and supporting games that value skill, curiosity, and real challenge, we can bring back some of that magic and push games to be more than just safe and profitable. If this resonated with you, join our Discord where we can rant and complain about games as a group. Subscribing also helps me know if you like videos like this, and if you're into cozy puzzle games, I've got one on Steam, just waiting to give you a chill experience. See you in the next one.
That was a good video. That was a good video. And I fundamentally agree with everything he says. Give it a like. You know what? Here's the video. Yes, this was nice. And like I said, I agree with everything. Man, the good old days.